I will now call to order the City County Council meeting for Monday, November 6, 2017. We'll begin our meeting with a prayer and pledge of allegiance led by Councilor Fanning.
Thank you, Madam President. If you would all join me in a moment of either prayer or quiet reflection. I share tonight with you the prayer of the Book of Common Prayer from my home Episcopalian faith for local elected officials. Almighty God, please send down upon all of the servants of this great city of Indianapolis, elected and otherwise, your spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice, that with steadfast purpose we may faithfully serve in our offices to promote the well-being of all people. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Now please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor Fanning. If all councilors would select their green button to indicate your attendance. There are 25 members present. The next item on our agenda is introduction of guests and visitors. Guests and visitors. Councilor Feaster.
Yes, I would like to recognize Pastor Tim Lindsay, who has offered to come to the council or come to the City County building and have a prayer caucus. So thank you very much, Pastor Lindsay.
Councilor Fanning.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to recognize Jim Poyser, the Executive Director of Earth Charter Indiana.
Leader Gray.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight we are really blessed in the chamber to be visited by so many Shortridge High School graduates. So I'd just like all the Shortridge High School graduates to stand up and say hello.
Chairman Osley.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to recognize the Vice Chair for the Indiana State Democratic Party, Ms. Cordelia Lewis-Burks.
Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to recognize all the people here who have come out to support the anti-gerrymandering resolution. If you could stand up, please.
Councilor Jackson.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to recognize Amina Pearson. She's Assistant Vice President for Corporation Fifth Third Bank here. Can you stand up for us, Amina? Thank you.
Councilor Miller.
Thank you, Madam President. We'll be recognizing them soon anyway, but I thought it's worth giving a little head start. Anybody who is here involved with historic preservation, in particular staff from DMD, Historic Preservation Commission members, and HUNY members, Historic Urban Neighborhoods of Indianapolis, if you'd stand up and be recognized.
Councilor Evans.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to recognize Mr. John McNichols with the Indiana Transportation Museum and Save the Nickel Plate organization. Please stand.
One more.
Leader Gray.
Yes. I'd like to recognize a long-standing friend who has been a big supporter of mine and this city for many years, Ms. Ann Stack.
Additional introductions? The next item on our agenda is the official, oh, sorry. So in honor of Veterans Day, I'm sorry, Councilor Oliver. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. If all can hear me out there, I want to acknowledge, first of all, my family members, all 34, I think 38 in total, that served in the military. going back to my two uncles who went away for 3.5 years in World War II. That's how long they were gone before they came back, serving in Italy, Germany, and likewise. Since that time, obviously Korea, Afghanistan, North Vietnam, et cetera, et cetera. So acknowledging them, all these Olivers, we'll be in the parade Saturday, and all veterans here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand? We're so very proud of every one of you. Thank you very much for all that you did for our country. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Counselor Oliver. The next item on our agenda is the official communications. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen, you are hereby notified that regular meetings of the City County Council and Police, Fire, and Solid Waste Collection Special Service District Councils will be held in the City County Building in the council chambers on Monday, November 6th at 7 p.m. The purposes of such meetings being to conduct any and all business that may properly come before regular meetings of the councils. Respectfully, Maggie A. Lewis, President, City County Council. Ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to the laws of the state of Indiana, I caused to be published in the Court and Commercial Record and in the Indianapolis Star on Monday, October 23, 2017, a copy of a notice of public hearing on proposal numbers 278, 280, and 282, 2017. Said hearing to be held on Monday, November 6th at 7 p.m. in the Public Assembly Room of the City County Building. Respectfully, Natrina DeBoe, Clerk of the City County Council. Ladies and gentlemen, I have approved with my signature and delivered this day to the Clerk of the City County Council, Natrina DeBoe, the following ordinances. Fiscal Ordinance Number 26, Police Special Service District Fiscal Ordinance Number 1, Fire Special Service District Fiscal Ordinance Number 1, Solid Waste Collection Special Service District Fiscal Ordinance Number 1, General Ordinance Numbers 53 through 63, Special Ordinance Number 6, and General Resolution Number 14. Joseph H. Hogsett, Mayor. Madam President, this concludes the official communications.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Do I have consent? Consent. The next item on our agenda is approval of the journals for October 9, 2017. Do I have consent? Consent. We'll now proceed to presentations of petitions, memorials, special resolutions, and council resolutions. Proposal number 329, introduced by Councilors Miller, Adamson, and Osili.
Anybody here in support, you please feel free to come join us and come down. Something very significant happened this year in Indianapolis. That is that historic preservation hit a 50-year anniversary. It's been a kind of a year-long celebration going on, especially if you live in a historic district, you know, because your neighborhood's probably been focused on each month. But we thought it was very appropriate for the council to recognize the incredible difference that historic preservation has made in our city. I will say that the very home I live in probably wouldn't exist if not for historic preservation, let alone my neighborhood of Fletcher Place would probably not exist. It would probably be an industrial zone, but instead, because of historic preservation, we have so much to celebrate. So I will get us started, and I'm going to let Councilor Addison, would you like to take some of it? Excellent. And Councilor Osili. All three of us have historic districts in our council districts. So the City County Council of Indianapolis, Marion County, has a special resolution number 37, 2017, a special resolution recognizing the Indianapolis Historic Preservation Commission, or IHPC, on its 50th anniversary. Whereas founded in 1957, the IHPC is a 9-member board that provides design and zoning review and approval for locally designated historic districts, conservation areas, and individually designated properties. And whereas the IHPC is empowered by the Indiana State Legislature to preserve the character and fabric of historically significant structures for all present and future residents and visitors of Indianapolis, and whereas there are 12 historic districts, and a couple examples being Lockerbie and Fletcher Place, 5 conservation districts, such as Ransom Place and Cottage Home, and then 11 individual historic properties, and that's very important, such as, for example, Union Station and the Old City Hall. And that commission preserves by providing technical assistance on the restoration, the rehabilitation, and the protection of these historic structures. And whereas
The commission is composed of members at an average tenure of 10-plus years, including President William Brown, Jr. at 26 years, and city staff at an average tenure of 10-plus years, including Administrator David Baker at 33 years. And whereas Historic Urban Neighborhoods of Indianapolis, or HUNI, is an advocacy group supporting the work of the commission in the preservation, revitalization, and interests of Indianapolis's historic neighborhoods. And whereas
the Director of the Department of Metropolitan Development, Emily Mack, explained historic preservation, at its core, is not about leaving things unchanged. It is about maintaining the integrity and relevance of each building and each district for its own unique identity. And whereas the Commission has had significant influence on the development, culture, and vibrancy in Indianapolis over the last 50 years, now therefore be it resolved by the City County Council of the City of Indianapolis and of Marion County, Indiana.
Section 1, the Indianapolis City County Council proudly celebrates and honors the Indianapolis Historic Preservation Commission for its longevity and community impact. And Section 2, the Council thanks the Commission for the many, many benefits of preservation that have been provided to the City of Indianapolis. Section 3, the Mayor is invited to join the resolution by affixing his signature hereto, which he has, and this resolution shall be in full force and effect upon adoption and compliance of IC 36-3414. And now we would like to hear from two people in particular. And I so move.
The motion
It's been a while since I've done one of these.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. The motion carries. Back to the speakers.
Yeah, I don't do them unless it's something really special, like this. This is great. So we're going to hear from two people tonight. Mr. Brown, who has been the president, or has been on the commission now as the president, and has been on the commission for a very long time. And a second gentleman who's not only been a staff member for a very long time, but is ending his time with the staff this year. There's going to be a big change, but they have an incredible staff, and we'll find a way. But I tell you what, we're indebted to both of these two individuals. Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Councilors Miller, Adamson, and Ossolet. Appreciate the opportunity to speak this evening. First of all, thank you to all the councilors for approving the resolution to recognize our 50 years of work here at the Indianapolis Historic Preservation Commission. IHPC is a vital component of our city-county government that is charged with protecting our historic resources and our overall character of the designated historic and conservation districts. Today, our historic resources are largely understood to be extremely valuable to the vibrancy and quality of our historic communities. However, this was not always the case. It was not until the outcry of the demolition of the historic Pennsylvania Railroad Station in New York City in 1963 that the historic preservation movement came to the forefront. 3 years later, in 1966, the federal government adopted the Historic Preservation Act that gave the official birth to the protection of our nation's historic resources. Just 1 year later, the state of Indiana legislated the creation of IHPC to do the same here for our city in Indianapolis. Since its creation, the Commission's oversight has grown from a single residential district with only a few blocks of homes to now 17 districts and too numerous blocks and buildings to count. The breadth of our involvement begins in the heart of our city at the Monument Circle Historic District, and today reaches out as far as New Augusta to the north, Cumberland to the east, Ransom Place to the west, and Fountain Square to the south, with many neighborhoods in between. We continue to see an interest and desire from residents outside these areas to create additional historic and conservation districts. And to the surprise of many, we are now looking at preserving buildings such as mid-century modern buildings from the 1960s as they reach 50 years of age. Preservation is alive and well in our Indianapolis community. At a milestone such as this, it seems appropriate to look back at a few facts about the Commission. Since 1967, there have been 7 mayoral administrations, numerous city-county councils, over 70 commissioners have served, 8 commission chairs, over 600 commission meetings, thousands of cases, and 5 directors. And as Councilor Miller just mentioned, speaking of our directors, we soon will be identifying our 6th director as David Baker, the current administrator, has announced his retirement. David has been with the Commission staff for 33 years and has been its director for 31 years. David, without question, has brought stability and consistency to the Commission's work. His measured opinions and thoughts have guided many applicants towards their successfully receiving their certificates of appropriateness and certificates of authorization for their projects from the Commission. If I can indulge the council and ask the audience to please acknowledge David's service to the Commission with a round of applause. David will be sorely missed, but we look forward to continuing with the work of the Commission under its new director. In closing, speaking for the Commissioners, we take our volunteer work extremely seriously and spend often countless hours making sure that our historic resources are protected and that the new construction in the districts supports and contributes to the overall character of these valuable and now thriving neighborhoods and commercial areas of our city. Although most of us will not see the centennial celebration of the Commission, we look forward to continuing the work of the Commission and preserving our heritage for those who will follow. Thank you to the mayors and councilors who have supported our efforts, as well as the many staff members of IHPC and DMD who have provided great service to the Commission over the years. Thank you again for recognizing the 50th anniversary of the Indianapolis Historic Preservation Commission.
Well, as Bill said, it all started with one district in 1967, that was Lockerbie Square. And there was just one very simple goal at the time, simply clean up the area around the James Whitcomb Riley House. By 1984, when I arrived and joined the staff, there were 5 districts. They were all downtown neighborhoods filled with urban pioneers who were all counting on the Preservation Commission to protect their investments, both monetary and sweat. Today there are 17 districts, 13 individual buildings designated and protected by the Preservation Commission. And interestingly, there's a whole new generation of people who want to live, work, and play in exciting neighborhoods. And they're looking for authentic character, authentic history. And guess what? Because of the efforts of the Preservation Commission all these years, Indianapolis has that to offer people. And they're booming today. We all know that historic preservation is about restoring old buildings. But it's also a development tool, something people don't think about. Most people are surprised to learn that the Preservation Commission has reviewed and approved some 3,000 brand new housing units over its history. And about 70% of that has been in the last 7 years. That's a lot of housing. And guess what it's filled with? It's filled with people who live, work, play, and pay taxes in the city. That's a good thing. I've been really lucky to be part of this effort, to work over the years with city, county councilors, with Historic Preservation Commission members, with different city administrations, fabulous city staff, but probably mostly, and most importantly, with neighborhood residents, because the neighborhood residents are really the ones that are doing the preservation. Thank you for your recognition of this vital commission and what it represents to the citizens of this city. Thank you.
Thank you, councilors. At this point, I'm going to turn the gavel over to Vice President Adamson.
The next item on the agenda is proposal number 330. President Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. If Mrs. Hearn Smith would come forward. My pleasure. Mr. Vice President, it is my honor to present a special resolution honoring Deborah Hearn Smith for her many years of service as the Girl Scouts of Central Indiana Chief Executive Officer. Councilor Jackson.
Thank you, Madam President. Whereas a young girl growing up in the era of segregation and civil rights, Deborah refused to let her surroundings keep her down. Sensing a need to nurture that attitude, Deborah's mother enrolled her into a local Girl Scouts troop. It was in Girl Scouts that Deborah made lifelong bonds with other young women who shared her values and desires. And whereas in 1970, Deborah earned a Bachelor of Science degree in political science from Kentucky State University. And after earning that degree, she intended on only to help out with Girl Scouts during the summer on camping trips, but it soon evolved into a full-time commitment. And whereas
2 years later, Deborah was promoted to Director of Camping Services and remained in that role until 1991, when she was named Director of Facilities and Technology. And whereas in 2001, Deborah rose to the office of CEO of the Girl Scouts Hoosier Capital Council. And in 2007, when 5 of the Scouts councils merged, she was named CEO of Girl Scouts of Central Indiana. And
whereas Deborah's Girl Scouts journey has spanned most of her lifetime, and she is estimated to have impacted the lives of more than 1 million girls across the state. And whereas each time Deborah thought it was time for her to move on, Girl Scouts presented her with a unique opportunity for development. And even after 47 years of service, her love for the organization continued to be renewed. And
whereas Deborah will retire at the end of December 2017, but has no plans of slowing down, and I'm sure you don't, anytime soon. She plans to devolve into music and genealogy and spend more time with other organizations that she is passionate about, including the Circle City chapter of the Lynx, her church, and traveling with family and friends. Now, therefore,
be it resolved by the City County Council of the City of Indianapolis and of Marion County, Indiana. Section 1. The City County Council proudly honors Deborah Hearn Smith for her many years of service as the Girl Scouts of Central Indiana as Chief Executive Officer. Section 2. The council heartily thanks Deborah for her dedicated service to the Girl Scouts and wishes her many more years of great service to the community. Section 3.
And before I continue with the legalese, I'd like to say, I wish Deborah had been around in Western Pennsylvania where I grew up, because I never got to be a Girl Scout. I'm sorry, too. Section 3, the mayor is invited to join in this resolution by affixing his signature thereto.
Section 4, this resolution shall be in full force and effect upon adoption and compliance with IC 36-3-4-14. And Mr. Vice President, I so move.
Proposal number 330 having been moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye. Aye. And back to the speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. It is my honor to present a friend, a mentor, my fellow Lynx sister, Ms. Hearn Smith. Thank you for everything you've done for our community.
Thank you. I am so honored to be before you today. Thank you for this recognition. And I am so humbled by the women who are ruling our city. When Girl Scouts was founded in 1912, our founder, Julia Gordon Low, said that her whole purpose was to get women out of the kitchen and into the world, to give us new experiences, to give us an equal footing, to try things and to do things. And it's so wonderful to be 100 years later, knowing that we are still not there, but we're working on it. The first Girl Scout troop in Indiana was in Irvington, and we were founded 1 year after she started Girl Scouting in Savannah, Georgia. Contrary to the belief of most Girl Scouts, I was not here then, but I was a Girl Scout here in Indianapolis at a time when things were different. Girl Scouting has always been dedicated to diversity and inclusion, but not always was society dedicated. So the Girl Scouts here in Indiana have fought the long battle. We have done great things over the 50 years, plus years I have been involved, and I am proud to stand here and represent the women, many of which I was thinking, in my tenure alone, over 250,000 women whose names you'll never know, who you'll never really get to recognize, have been troop leaders. They have done the heavy lifting. They've done the crafts. They've done the STEM projects. They've stayed up at night. They put in the dollars. Those women, over 250,000 of them, because we serve 20,000 volunteers a year. If you add that up, 250,000 women in Indiana have stood tall for girls. I am proud to stand on their shoulders. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 331, introduced by Councilor Adamson.
Is Addie Bray in the audience? Addie Bray? Is she here? I do not see her. So, Madam President, I would like to postpone this proposal until the next council meeting.
All those in favor of moving this to the next council meeting signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is proposal number 332, introduced by Councilor Adamson.
Thank you, Madam President. City County Special Resolution number 40. A special resolution recognizing Paramount School of Excellence. Whereas Paramount School of Excellence opened in 2010, and whereas Paramount believes that each child will maximize their potential against measurable standards, developing skills necessary to become successful and productive citizens in a global society, and whereas Paramount grew from an F rating to an A rating with a steady growth over the past 4 years, and for the first time in 2014, Paramount earned an A rating. And whereas all of Paramount's hard work has earned them many rankings, such as ranking the number 3 public school in Marion County, ranking the number 2 school corporation in the state of Indiana, and ranking in the 96th percentile of all Indiana schools for academic achievement out of 1,797 tested schools. And whereas Paramount was recognized by Education Cities in early 2 through 17 through the Education Equity Index as one of the top 100 schools in Indianapolis for closing the achievement gap, irrespective of family's income. And whereas Paramount will open a second K-8 school in 2017 and 18, and whereas developing compassion and understanding, students at Paramount School of Excellence will learn to respect their environment, themselves, and one another. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City County Council of the City of Indianapolis and of Marion County, Indiana, Section 1, the Indianapolis City Council proudly recognizes the Paramount School of Excellence. Section 2, the council extends its appreciation to Paramount School of Excellence for inspiring learning through an unparalleled academic approach and transform communities by changing lives. Section 3, the mayor is invited to join this resolution by affixing his signature hereto, which he has done. And Section 4, this resolution shall be in full force and effect upon adoption and compliance with Indiana Code 363414, and I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. The motion carries. Back to the speaker.
Thank you, Madam President. It is a particular honor to be able to recognize the achievements of Paramount School. I have often joked with my spouse that I often wanted to go out and get some kids just so we could send them there, because it's a great school. Without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to the administrator for the school. Tom, you ready?
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate the honor of having been a part of this and a part of our community. There's no secret sauce to education, and we don't see any line between public school, traditional publics, whether you're public or private or a charter school. We're all in the same game, working for the same end, which is doing right by our kids. And for us, that secret sauce is hard work backed by excellent teachers and amazing administration. And the people standing behind me right now are what makes our school amazing. Directly behind me, Scott Fry, the school principal, is a wizard with teachers and kids and does our kids such an amazing justice. And the teachers and administration that surround him are what make our school so great. So again, our thanks to our community, to the mayor's office for authorizing our school, and I hope we can keep serving you at the same capacity for many years to come.
Thank you, Councilor Adamson. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 333. It approves the schedule for the regular council meetings for the year 2018. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Madam President. All councilors should have received the dates for the 2018 council meetings. There are, again, 16 meetings scheduled for 2018, with the first meeting being scheduled for January 8th.
Are you done, Madam Clerk? I'm sorry. Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that it?
Yes, ma'am. That is all I have.
Leader McQuillan.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments regarding the schedule for 2018? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those approved, same sign. Motion carries. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 284, refer to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osili. $284.
Page 2.
Thank you, Madam President. I won't jump out and get coffee next time, I promise. All right, proposal number 284 appoints Keila Johnson to the Citizens Advisory Committee for Washington Township Comprehensive Plan. Ms. Johnson stated that she's lived in Indianapolis since 1998. Retired as Director of Risk Management and Borrower Services from Sallie Mae, and has served as the point person with the city for her community for many years. Councilor Adamson moves, seconded by Councilor Fanning, to send proposal number 284, 2017, to the full council with a due pass recommendation, and the motion carried by a vote of 6-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 25-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 292, refer to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osley.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 292, 2017, appoints Erica Hinshaw to the Citizens Advisory Committee for Warren Township Comprehensive Plan. Ms. Hinshaw stated that she's lived in the Irvington area since 2009, and that she had worked for and used to work for the Department of Metropolitan Development for several years. She stated that she also volunteers with the Irvington Development Organization and serves as chair of the Public Spaces Committee. Councilor Adamson moves, seconded by Councilor Evans, to send proposal 292, 2017 to the full council with a due pass recommendation, and the motion carried by a vote of 6-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. Councilor Holliday. The proposal carries 25-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 293, refer to Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal 293, 2017, appoints Ronald Covington Sr. to the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department Merit Board. Mr. Covington stated that he is raised in Indianapolis, Indiana. He's been the pastor of Friendship Missionary Baptist Church for the last 23 years and is involved in various community organizations to bring a sense of cohesiveness between the church and the community. He said that he is honored to be a part of the team that is focused on improving the relationship between IMPD and the community. Councilor Oliver moved, seconded by Councilor Mosqueda, to send proposal 293 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. The motion carried by a vote of 7, 1, and 2, with Councilor Simpson casting the negative vote and Councilors Clay and Scales abstaining from the vote. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Councilor Clay.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be abstaining tonight as well.
On the council floor, you have to request an abstention. So,
Let me rephrase that, Madam President. With your permission, I'd like to abstain.
Mr. B. Sickert.
Thank you, Madam President. Under our rules for the votes on the council floor, in order to request an abstention, the reason has to be that there is a relationship or interest that is such that it might appear to limit the counselor's objectivity on the merits of the counselor's vote. If you do have that reason, then you can request abstention. If not, the rule requires you to vote.
Councilor Clay.
Thank you, Madam President.
Additional comments? We'll now proceed to the board for our vote. Councilor Gray. The proposal carries 23-2. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 285, referred to Community Affairs and Education Committee. Chairman Muscari.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal 285, 2017, urges the Indiana General Assembly to support comprehensive redistricting reform. Passed out of committee 3-2. Casting the negative votes were Councilor Holliday and Councilor Mallory. I do move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Councilor Scales, then Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Madam President. We have hundreds of election laws that are designed to protect the integrity of our democratic process and ensure the principle of one person, one vote. All those voting laws are meaningless when partisan redistricting draws electoral districts for partisan gain and all but guarantees that a large group of voters will be on the losing end of every election they participate in. To effect change, we must use public pressure on those who would manipulate and rig the system to maintain the entrenchment of individual office holders and the power of one political party. Thank you.
show. There are many counselors that want to speak, and so if you do an applause like that for every time they speak, we might be here a while. So, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you, Madam President, and Chairman Mascari, fellow councilors. At the close of the Constitutional Convention in 1787, Benjamin Franklin was asked as he left Independence Hall on the final day of deliberation, "Well, doctor, what have we got, a republic or a monarchy?" His reply was simply, "A republic, if you can keep it." Friends, the state of our republic is in dire straits. There is a cancer that eats at our democracy, and at the core of that sickness is the gerrymandered districts. As Ben Franklin said in 1787, it is up to each of us to defend our republic from those who would steal it from the people. Indiana now has the lowest voter participation in our nation through extreme gerrymandering. Of Indiana's 50 senators, 17 had no opponent in the last election, and 22 won with at least 60% of the vote. In Indiana, in the 100-member House of Representatives, 27 lawmakers were unopposed in 2016, and 57 won with at least 60% of the vote. This resolution has been a long work in progress, and if we pass ours today, Indianapolis will join other Indiana communities such as Anderson, Bloomington, Carmel, Crawfordsville, Greencastle, Kokomo, Lafayette, Michigan City, Monroe County, Montgomery County, Muncie, Newcastle, South Bend, Tippecanoe County, West Lafayette, Valparaiso, Vanderburgh County, and Vincennes. When a politically charged issue has the support of the Enterprise Republicans, whose letter you have before you today, the Indianapolis Chamber of Commerce, whose letter you also have with you today, as well as the NAACP, whose letter you have on your desk, and the Hoosier Environmental Council, who testified at our committee, it is curious to me the motivations of anyone not supporting this proposal. I would urge all my fellow councilors to vote in the affirmative.
Leader McQuillan.
Thank you, Madam President. My remarks will be brief and won't be followed by a round of applause. Just quickly pointing out the fact that the state constitution of the state of Indiana requires that the Indiana General Assembly draws these maps, coupled with the fact that the Supreme Court of the United States will be making a determination in this case very soon, makes it seem unwise to me to make a political decision tonight and a feel-good vote. So I will be voting no. Thank you. Hold your applause, please. Thank you.
Vice President Adamson, then Councilor Miller.
Thank you, Madam President, for the opportunity to address that very issue, and I'm glad the Minority Leader has brought that up. As was stated by the Honorable John M. Mutz, Lieutenant Governor under Robert Orr, his suggestion was, to make this completely doable, is that the maps that could be developed by a nonpartisan commission could then be offered for approval by both the House and the Senate, taken on an up or down vote basis. It's a very simple procedure. Thank you.
Councilor Miller.
Thank you, Madam President. When I first joined the council, there had been maps that were drawn, in that case, by one party. It happened to be the Republican Party, but by one party. And I'm not even going to say everybody who was a Republican was happy with those maps, but obviously they were drawn by that party. There was argument about those maps, understandable, and the opposite party, happened to be the Democrat Party, drew maps. And there were perhaps more Democrats happy with that map. I actually like the Democrat maps better myself, but for my district. But overall, Democrats were happier. During the legal proceedings, there was a third set of maps drawn. And those maps, I don't remember exactly how they were drawn, if it was by the judge that was overhearing things or if it was a particular group that did it, but it was using the policies and practices that are being recommended with this proposal. And everybody hated them. And everybody hated them because there was no preference given to sitting councilors. There was no, and where they were located. There was no preference given to a neighborhood that might actually like their councilor and suddenly doesn't have it anymore. We had cases where 3 sitting councilors were running against each other. We were all looking at it going, okay, can we all argue about the other 2 maps now? Because we don't really like this one. You know what? When it scares everybody, it's probably the right thing to do. My only message is we all better hold on to our hats, because it's going to be interesting to see what we get. I remember mine in particular as I'm right here in my district, and my district flipped and went like that. And I went, oh my. But so did all the neighborhoods that I currently represented. They went, really? That would be the, you know what? That's what happens when you give no preference to anything except what certainly by the group that put it together, who tried their best, is the right thing to do. So I will be voting in support. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilor Clay, then Councilor Feaster.
Thank you, Madam President. Just for a point of clarification, perhaps our counsel to the council, with your permission, can give some clarity and context to the impact and the weight of law with respect to proposal number 285. What's its weight and impact?
Mr. B. Sicker.
Thank you, Madam President. This is, proposal 285 is a special resolution that urges the General Assembly to support comprehensive redistricting reform. It's similar to other proposals urging the General Assembly to do something or not do something. Obviously, it does not bind the General Assembly, but it does express the intent of the council and the sense of the council that the General Assembly should do what the resolution suggests.
So for clarity, Madam President, in terms of impact and weight of law, this resolution has none, correct?
Mr.
Yeah,
Bissicker.
it is not law
you.
in the sense that it's binding on
Thank you.
on anyone. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. B. Sicker. Councilor Feaster.
Thank you, Madam President. I noticed in the beginning when you all stood for supporting or not supporting this particular resolution, I noticed one sign that said, "Protect individual voters." And as was just discussed, this is a non-binding resolution. The 2020 census would require maps again, would require redistricting maps again. And I always look at the numbers. I always try to follow the money. So if this were to become effective before the 2020 census and that redistricting, it would be money that was spent unnecessarily or, in my mind, perhaps even frivolously. And it takes about $500,000 to $750,000, as I recall, to do that. So because it's non-binding, the legislature does not have to do what we're requesting. The 2020 census is going to require it to be done again, and I have no idea what the details are in this proposal. It doesn't say what specifically what that is to do, except to have redistricting. So until I know some of the details and can take a little deeper dive into what is being requested, and especially since it's non-binding, I cannot support it. Thank you.
Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Madam President. I wasn't going to speak tonight because I said quite a bit during committee, but I'll say just a few words. When I was growing up, I hated playing Monopoly with my sisters because they made up the rules as they went. And every 10 years, that's exactly what politicians do. We draw these maps to benefit our own party, to secure our own power. Democrats are guilty, Republicans are guilty, Republicans are, everybody's guilty. I want to be clear because I think there's some confusion about what tonight is about. And tonight's not about changing the law. We don't have the power to do that. But it is about speaking with one voice and saying very clearly that we think political gerrymandering is corrupt. And we can pause tonight and say that this really isn't our place and the state's not going to do anything, but I think the stakes are a little too high for that. And that we should be joining other cities that beat us to this, which is also a mistake. We've got I wish I got applause at the dinner table with my family. These maps, my point is simply this. These maps do not belong to us. They do not belong to politicians. They belong to the people of the state of Indiana. And so tonight, I'm excited and pleased to vote for this proposal. Whether or not it becomes law or not, we need to send a message to our legislators that we're watching. Thank you.
Councilor McHenry.
Thank you, Madam President. I must echo on what Councilor Feaster said, because I too have not seen a plan or what this reform is actually going to do. It's urging the state legislatures to redistrict according to some sort of a plan, which there again, you can list off the names of the cities that have supported this, but there again, I haven't seen what their actual resolution was either. But when we look and don't have a plan, and we're saying, and this is directed toward the state legislature for their districts, for the Senate and the House, I must say that, yeah, there's some very odd districts. I happen to live in one of them that's the strangest horseshoe shape that I've ever seen in my life. But I think that there was probably some reasoning behind some of that. I don't know. And it's not and believe me, it's not in my favor. But I have not seen a plan. And until I see a plan, and until I see something that really states and is, from that, I can't support something that I do not have a plan for. And as it was stated, the state constitution states the legislature does do this, so it is up to them to come up with a plan.
Councilor Oliver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a little, thank you very much, Zach. Thank you very much for going forward with this, and I happily support this resolution that we're going to hopefully send forward with a strong message. But I'd like to tell a little story about myself. Gerrymandering and all that has been impacted, I guess, by the drawing of the maps of the political parties. But for me personally, my grandfather, my father, myself, we had a different experience. When the maps were fair, I guess, we experienced a time when we had to guess or count how many jelly beans in a jar to be able to vote. And we got through that. Then there was the poll tax to pay your way to vote. So I experienced some of that. I became of age at a time before the Voting Rights Act was passed. When I became of age, it wasn't really within my neighborhood and culture to go out and do, because it was kind of a new experience. But I caught a hold of that and started participating right away, and where we're at today. Now, after all the rules have been complied by those of us of color, we find ourselves, they drew a map called Stack and Pack. Not just Democrats, of course, but people, those of us of color, were all stacked in, Stack and Pack. There were, our votes were marginalized because we could not vote for others. We could only vote for ourselves. And it's something un-American about that. So I'm very happy, Zach, for what you're doing, and all the rest of my colleagues. Thank you very much for supporting this proposal.
Councilor Fanning, then Councilor Evans.
Thank you, Madam President. I've been learning about this issue, well, gosh, since high school history class. We've all heard the infamous term gerrymandering, but I really started to take a deeper dive as a candidate a couple years back when I attended the League of Women Voters candidate forum, and I started learning about it. And I have to say, the more I learn about redistricting forum, the more I understand it is incredibly complicated. And I wanted to first say thank you to all of the enthusiasts in this room who've taken a deep dive, because it's a very complex issue. There are many competing agendas when redistricting happens. There's no such thing as actual neutrality. I want to make that clear. Every human has some kind of bias, but I know we can do it in a better way. And it is important to not favor elected officials. It is important to keep neighborhoods and geographical boundaries together. And I'm looking forward to taking kind of a deeper dive when there is some action happening here. I'm very supportive of this measure in terms of trying to make districts that more closely represent our constituency, and having competitive districts is so important. If you look at every level of government, you see the people who are working the hardest for you and working hardest to represent their constituents are those in competitive districts. So I will do everything I can to support that. Thank you.
Counselor Evans and Counselor Miller.
Thank you, Madam President. There's nothing really new to say on this, I suppose. 2 points I want to make out. One, I want to give my comments in agreement from what I've heard tonight. But secondly, I waited purposely after Counselor Blake Johnson because I knew he would just take the crowd with him. And I also want to introduce the public to my candidate for governor in 2020, Counselor Blake Johnson. I'll be voting in support of this. I really just want to hear the crowd clap for me.
Counselor Miller.
Thank you, Madam President, for letting me add one last thing. I do think something that's important to everything we've added tonight is no matter what our districts are like, we have to vote. And I want to throw out something really important with my particular district. Mine is a 50-50 district. In fact, it leans 5% the other way from my party. Yet, out of 65,000 eligible voters, 3,100 voted. 3,100. So we do need to remember that no matter what our districts are like, we've got to vote. So thank you, Madam President.
Leader Gray, then Counselor Scales. I think we're in the debate. Counselor Scales.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak again. I'd like to address those who say they don't understand what the bill is about and the intent. This is, in large part, the people here are showing their frustration because Indiana House Bill 1014, which was the result of a study commission chaired by Representative Jerry Torr, was designed to have an independent citizens committee make recommendations to the legislature about how to draw the lines for the 2021 redistricting. That the chairman of the House Elections and Apportions Committee would not allow the bill to be voted on, even though one of the committee members made the motion for the vote to be taken and it was seconded. Only the chairman can call the vote, and he refused to. And the very fact that this chairman of this House Elections and Apportions Committee would not allow the bill to be voted on is emblematic of the self-entrenchment of legislators spawned by gerrymandering.
We'll now proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 15 to 10. The next item on our agenda is introductions of proposals. There are several introductions, so I do ask that if you need to have conversations that you do step out of the chambers at this time. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal numbers 296 to 301 all referred to the Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee, all introduced by Counselor Osley. Proposal number 296 approves an additional appropriation of $155,333 in the 2017 budget of the Marion County Recorder ID Security Protection Fund to cover costs associated with a process change in a contract for recording software. Proposal number 297 amends the code to establish by ordinance the manner and form in which the county recorder may provide form copies to bulk users. Proposal number 298 approves an additional appropriation of $135,000 in the 2017 budget of the Department of Business and Neighborhood Services, Consolidated County General Fund to pay wages and benefits of 4 additional staff to Indianapolis Animal Care Services. Proposal number 299 amends the code to restructure plan review fees for construction and renovation of Class 1 structures and to authorize the Board of Business and Neighborhood Services to reduce license and permit fees. Proposal number 300 approves the statement of benefits of Emphasis Limited, an applicant for tax abatement for property located in an economic revitalization area. Proposal number 301 approves the Metropolitan Development Commission's preliminary designation of the Goodwill Riverview Economic Development and Allocation Area. Proposal numbers 302 to 311, all referred to the Administration and Finance Committee. Proposal number 302, introduced by Councilors McQuillan, Simpson, and Lewis, appoints Marilyn Feaster to the City County Audit Committee. Proposal number 303, introduced by Councilor Simpson, approves a transfer of $60,000 in the 2017 budget of the Marion County Treasurer County General Fund to cover costs associated with temporary personnel services, additional postage costs in a technology project. Proposal number 304, introduced by Councilors Simpson and Feaster, authorizes the Board of Commissioners of Marion County to dispose of certain parcels that have an appraised value of $50,000 or more. Proposal number 305, introduced by Councilors Simpson and Feaster, amends the code to increase the value that the real property must have to necessitate approval of the fiscal body for transfer under IC 36-1-11-3 or IC 36-1-11-5. Proposal number 306, introduced by Councilor Simpson, approves a transfer in the 2017 budget of the Office of Audit and Performance Consolidated County Fund for the purchase of audit management software. Proposal number 307, introduced by Councilor Simpson, approves a transfer of $600,000 and an additional appropriation of $279,334 in the 2017 budget of the Information Services Agency, Information Services and Enhanced Access Funds, to cover new technology projects for the Department of Metropolitan Development and the Election Board and to cover the cost of an enterprise storage solution. Proposal number 308, introduced by Councilor Robinson, determines the need to lease approximately 108 square feet of space at 2424 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Street for use by the Marion County Prosecutor. Proposal number 309, introduced by Councilor Robinson, determines the need to lease approximately 144 square feet of space at 2990 West 71st Street for use by the Marion County Prosecutor. Proposal number 310, introduced by Councilor Robinson, determines the need to lease 3,142 square feet of space at 2011 North Meridian Street for use by the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department. Proposal number 311, introduced by Councilor Robinson, it determines the need to lease 4,074 square feet of space at 2703 East 25th Street for use by the Marion County Public Defender Agency. Proposal numbers 312 to 317, all referred to the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Proposal numbers 312 to 316, all introduced by Councilor Robinson. Proposal number 312 approves an additional appropriation of $7,618,460 in the 2017 budget of the Marion County Sheriff County General Fund to cover retiree health insurance and overtime costs and expenses for inmate housing and medical care costs carried over from 2016. Proposal number 313 approves a transfer of $275,000 in the 2017 budget of the Marion County Clerk's Perpetuation Fund to support remodel of the clerk's office to complete a smart sizing initiative by centrally locating staff. Proposal number 314 approves an additional appropriation of $575,000 in the 2017 budget of the Marion County Prosecutor County General Fund and a corresponding reduction of appropriations in the amount of $575,000. Deferral Program Fee Fund to shift reliance between funds to cover employee salaries and benefits for the remainder of 2017. Proposal number 315 approves an additional appropriation of $17,100 in the 2017 budget of the Marion County Circuit Court County General Fund and a corresponding reduction of appropriations in the amount of $17,100 County Cumulative Capital Improvement Fund for the build-out of the Special Counsel Office and to provide secure access for judicial staff to the courtroom. Proposal number 316 approves an additional appropriation and transfer of $84,240 in the 2017 budget of the Marion County Public Defender Agency County General Fund to purchase panel system workspaces for additional TPR chins, teams, and for reimbursement of expenses for capital and life without parole cases. Proposal number 317, introduced by Counselor Lewis, approves certain public purpose grants totaling $304,786 from the Drug-Free Community Fund. Proposal numbers 318 to 328, I'll refer to the Public Works Committee. Proposal number 318, introduced by Counselor Adamson, approves an additional appropriation of $1,528,000 in the 2017 budget of the Department of Public Works, Transportation General, and Solid Waste Collection General Funds to fulfill projected personnel costs through the end of 2017. Proposal number 319, introduced by Counselor Jackson, approves a request of the Department of Public Works to purchase certain real estate interests for construction of a public works project. Proposal number 320, introduced by Counselors Adamson and Lewis, approves a public lighting contract with Indianapolis Power and Light. Proposal number 322, introduced by Counselor Wessler, authorizes intersection controls at Asbury Street and Lawrence Avenue in District 24. Proposal number 323, introduced by Counselor Adamson, authorizes intersection controls at Hudson Street and Alley 1050 North in District 17. Proposal number 324, introduced by Counselor Ray, authorizes intersection controls at Ridgeview Drive and 13th Street in District 19. Proposal number 325, introduced by Counselor Fanning, authorizes a speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour in the Donberry subdivision in District 2. Proposal number 326, introduced by Counselor Evans, authorizes intersection controls at Duquesne Way and Dunn Way in District 22. Proposal number 327, introduced by Counselor Osley, authorizes restricted parking at the corners of Delaware Street and 23rd Street and Delaware Street and 24th Street in District 11. Proposal number 328, introduced by Counselor Evans, authorizes restricted parking on Regent Street from Cole Street to the east, termination point in District 22. And proposal number 344, introduced by Counselor Osley, referred to the Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee, approves the issuance of special taxing district bonds of the redevelopment district in an amount not to exceed $14 million for the purpose of refunding an installment purchase contract between the Department of Metropolitan Development and Market Square Garage Ops Partners, LLC, for the parking garage commonly known as the Bank One Garage, and approves transaction costs related thereto. This concludes the introduction of proposals.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on our agenda is Special Orders Priority Business. Proposal number 294, refer to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osley.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 294, 2017, authorizes the issuance of economic development tax increment revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $3.435 million to Jackson FS Redevelopment, LLC, to finance a portion of the funds for the acquisition, construction, demolition, renovation, improvement, excavation, utility relocation, and/or equipping projects, including certain streetscape and landscape projects and improvements such as public seating and large sidewalks, landscape planters, and public pet park, and a public pet park of a mixed-use facility of approximately 124,987 square feet with commercial, retail, and residential uses, including 94 apartments and associated parking facilities located at or near the intersection of East Prospect Street and Spruce Street in District 17 and 21, and approves and authorizes other actions in respect thereto. Jeff Bennett, Deputy Mayor of Community Development, and Carter Jackson of Jackson Development, LLC, gave a brief presentation, and following are a few of the key points. The project is a redevelopment of an existing one-acre site into a mixed-use project, including 94 residential units, and approximately 8,400 square feet of commercial space. It's estimated that the increased assessed value will be $11,900,000. It's attracting approximately 23 new jobs, and its intent is to help jumpstart the east end of Prospect Street, which in turn will create even more assessed value and jobs. The project incorporated a great deal of feedback, which was received from the neighborhood stakeholders, including public art, public engagement along Prospect Street. 10% of the residential units will be reserved as affordable housing, and this is a 100% developer-backed project. Councilor Adamson stated that he liked the idea of 100% developer-backed bonds, which he believes is what the city should be looking to support more. And he stated this would be a good catalyst to pushing the line of development eastward down Prospect Street. Councilor Evans stated his support of this project, and this is what should be done to help revitalize neighborhoods and communities. Councilor Adamson moved, seconded by Councilor Kreider, to send Proposal 267, 2017 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. The motion carried by a vote of 6-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 24-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 295, refer to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osley.
Proposal 295, 2017, authorizes the issuance of tax-exempt Indiana multifamily housing revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $16 million to Bethel Townhomes LP and Indiana Avenue Apartments LP to provide a portion of the funds for the acquisition, design, construction, renovation, improvement, and/or equipping of the existing multifamily housing facilities and functionally related and subordinate facilities known as the Bethel Townhomes at 3102 Baltimore Avenue, with 94 residential units, and Indiana Avenue Apartments, 825 Indiana Avenue, with 106 residential units, both for low and moderate income individuals and families in Districts 11 and 17, and approves and authorizes other actions in respect thereto. Stephanie Quick of the Indianapolis Housing Agency, Insight Development Corporation, stated that the scope of work has not changed and that they're ready to move forward with the closing in the next 60 to 90 days. Indiana Avenue Apartments and Bethel Townhomes are both part of IHA, Indiana Housing Agency, Indiana Housing Authority, Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, a conversion which will take place in early 2018. Councilor Adamson moved, seconded by Councilor Kreider, to send proposal 295 to the full council with a due pass recommendation, and the motion carried by a vote of 5-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 24-0. Proposals number 334 through 342 are all rezoning proposals certified for approval by the Metropolitan Development Commission on October 27, 2017. If no councilors wishes to call down any of those proposals for reconsideration, they will pass into law. Does anyone wish to call down any of the proposals? Seeing none, they will pass into law. Proposal number 343 is a rezoning proposal certified for denial by the Metropolitan Development Commission on October 27, 2017. If no councilor wishes to call down that proposal for reconsideration, the denial will stand. Does anyone wish to call down that proposal? Seeing none, the denial will stand. We'll now proceed to special orders, public hearing. Proposal number 278, refer to Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal 278, 2017 approves additional appropriations and a transfer totaling $2,950,000 in the 2017 budget of the Marion Superior Court, the guardian ad litem, the jury pay, county general fund, and court equipment funds to cover the cost of guardian ad litem, services, jury pay, interpreter services, drug and medical services, information technology, and other contractual services. Monica Ferguson, Finance Director for the Marion Superior Court, stated that $310,000 will be transferred to Characters 1, 2, and 4 to cover Character 3 services. She also stated that the requesting an additional appropriation in their jury pay fund to pay jury-related expenses, and stated that they are requesting an additional appropriation of $2.6 million to cover guardian ad litem-related expenses. Councilor Clay moved, seconded by Councilor Simpson, to send Proposal 278 to the full council. They do pass recommendation. The motion carried by a vote of 10-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to proposal number 278? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 25-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 280, refer to Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal 280, 2017, approves an additional appropriation of $950,000 and a reduction of $250,000 in the 2017 budget of the Marion County Community Corrections Agency to cover the increased cost of electronic monitoring due to an increased number of clients placed on electronic monitoring by the Marion Superior Court. Scott Ho, the CFO for the Marion County Community Corrections, stated that $950,000 will cover the costs related to electronic monitoring, which has exceeded its budget due to an increase in the number of individuals that have been placed on home detention. He also stated that they are returning $250,000 from Character 1 to the County General Fund to help supplement the total amount needed. Councilor Scales moved, seconded by Councilor Oliver, to send Proposal 280 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. The motion carried by a vote of 10-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to proposal number 280? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 25-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 282, refer to Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal 282, 2017, approves an additional appropriation of $1,360,000 in the 2017 budget of the Indianapolis Fire Department, other federal grants DPS fund to cover compensation to personnel and participating agencies for expenses incurred during the deployment in support of the National Urban Search and Rescue Response System Cooperation Agreement. Candace Harris, the Urban Search and Rescue Grant Manager, IFD, stated that the additional appropriation will cover costs associated with the 3 federal deployments for Hurricane Harvey, Irma, and Maria. She stated that the funds will be returned to them through the Federal Emergency Management Agency's USAR Cooperative Agreement. Councilor Simpson moved, seconded by Councilor Mascari, to send Proposal 282 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. The motion carried by a vote of 10-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to proposal number 282? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 25-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 260, referred to Rules and Public Policy. Mr. Biesicker.
Thank you, Madam President. What happened with Proposal 260 was that the 2 days after the council passed it, the Department of Local Government Finance changed its official classification of the transit tax from being part of the expenditure rate to a special purpose rate. Proposal 260 was necessary if and only if the transit tax was considered part of the expenditure rate. But since the council had already passed it, and DLGF didn't change its mind until after the council had acted, we being myself, Office of Corporation Counsel, Office of Finance and Management, all asked the mayor to pocket veto it by not acting on it within 10 days, which he did. And under our rules, all vetoes, even a purely technical one like this one, have to come back on the council agenda. But the bottom line is that 260 is now both unnecessary and incorrect because DLGF changed the classification. Had they changed it a couple of days earlier, we could have withdrawn or stricken 260, but they didn't, so here we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Biesicker. Comments or questions from Councilor Kreider?
Thank you, Madam President. I guess just a quick question then. Is there something we would need to do then to make this go into the special tax rate that you're talking about? Is there another proposal we will need to do to fix whatever? We're not doing anything with this. Is there something we're going to be doing in the future, I guess is my question.
Okay.
Mr.
Yeah,
Biesicker.
if I understand, no, there's nothing we need to do. When DLGF first approved the transit tax back in February, they approved it as part of the expenditure rate. And when the tax rates came out for 2018, they changed their mind and said it's now part of the special purpose, or it is a special purpose rate, and that made 260 unnecessary. So DLGF and that basically has the final say in how these things are classified. So no, the council doesn't need to do anything going forward.
Additional comments, questions? So, Councilor McClellan.
So, to recap, to the council, you're suggesting that we uphold the mayor's veto?
Correct.
Thank you.
So, additional questions? So select the green to override the veto, red to sustain the veto. And just so we're on the same page, it takes 17 votes to override a veto. Again, green to override the veto, red to sustain. The board is now open. I guess technically, Mr. Biesicker, so the motion carries, but I don't recall doing a motion fails. Is that the proper terminology, Mr. Biesicker?
Yes, Madam President. Yeah, it would have taken 2/3, 17 votes to override the veto. Okay. So the veto is sustained.
Sustained. Thank you. We'll now proceed to special orders final adoption. Proposal number 267, refer to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osili.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 267 is related to proposal 294 that we previously heard, and approves a resolution and economic development plan establishing the Jackson Fountain Square economic development area and designating such as an economic development allocation area. Please note that this is the single site TIF that we had mentioned earlier with a developer-backed bonds. It's a redevelopment of the existing 1 acre site into the mixed-use project, 94 residential units, approximately 8,500 square feet of commercial space, with an anticipated increased assessed value of $11.9 million. Councilor Adamson moved, seconded by Councilor Kreider, to send proposal 267 to the full council with a due pass recommendation, and the motion carried by a vote of 6-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 25-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 277, refer to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osili.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 277, 2017, approves a statement of benefits of Eli Lilly and Company, an applicant for tax abatement for property located in an economic revitalization area. Michael O'Connor, Eli Lilly Senior Director in State Government Affairs, and D.R. Foley, Senior Director, gave a brief presentation. Mr. O'Connor stated that in order to support the development of new pharmaceuticals and to move recently approved drugs from trials to widespread usage, Eli Lilly has proposed a 4-year plan to invest up to $159 million in new facilities, building renovations, and technology upgrades at the Technology Center campuses. These initial projects include the renovation and conversion of an existing 19,000 square foot building, acquisition of syringe filling and other equipment to produce, package, and distribute the new diabetes treatment, Trulicity, renovation of existing space, and purchase of insulin production and packing equipment to support additional monoclonal, I hope that's the correct term, as I recall, monoclonal drug phase 1 and phase 2 trials, the addition of a second floor to an existing 13,840 square foot building, investment in new manufacturing and logistics equipment to develop an additional insulin vial filling line, and construction and equipping of a new 80,000 square foot warehouse. He stated that as a result of this commitment by Eli Lilly, the city of Indianapolis will remain an important hub for pharmaceutical and life sciences industries. Supporting the expansion of the city's largest employer will aid in the retention of thousands of central Indiana workers employed by Eli Lilly directly, their contractors, consultants, suppliers, and vendors. The applicant is requesting tax abatement to assist in offsetting the high costs of investment associated with the aforementioned development with this proposed project. The granting of property tax abatement will assist in making these projects both more economically feasible by phasing in the increased tax liability resulting from the investments. Councilor Adamson did state that one of the things that councilors look for is how many jobs will be created and retained, and that on the project summary it does state none committed. Councilor Fadding also had expressed some concern about that, but as she had stated, that she looks forward to supporting the proposal. Councilor Evans stated that they're very appreciative of what Eli Lilly has done for the city of Indianapolis, and Bart Brown, our CFO, stated he recommends approval of the proposal, that the taxes are anticipated to be paid will be far more than any taxes they have seen combined this year or last. And Mr. O'Connor indicated that Eli Lilly does its best to minimize its impact on public safety by having their own security force and fire department. Angela Smith-Jones, Deputy Mayor, stated that Eli Lilly, being a pillar in the city and communities, an excellent example of true corporate citizenship for all of the corporate partners, and that they continue to put the city of Indianapolis on the map as a city that is strong and worthy of continued investments. Councilor Fanning moved, seconded by Councilor Evans, to send Proposal 277, 2017 to the full council with a due pass recommendation, and the motion carried by a vote of 6-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Councilor Oliver.
Thank you for recognizing me. I raised some questions, I think, the last time this business was before this body. And with this evening, I see Mr. O'Connor. Sorry I didn't recognize you earlier. I certainly would have called you out. So I'll do so now, sir. Madam Chair, can I ask the question, Mr. O'Connor, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. O'Connor.
Thank you very much, sir. I think last year, a couple years ago, when I raised about the taxpayers in Marion County, it boils down to subsidizing the entity. And I asked a question about reciprocity, and I was told that was improper for me to ask that question because it's tit for tat. Just going back in this a little bit, but going forward, for those of us that reside in Marion County and being one of the largest pharmaceuticals in the state, is there anything for us on the horizon for either discount on prices, this being the flu season? Is there anything there for us Marion County residents that would...
Councilor Oliver?
Yes, ma'am.
I feel like you're going back down that same path we went down a couple of years ago.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, Mr. O'Connor, thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam President.
I just want him...
Counselor, it's good to see you. That was 5 years ago, by
Councilor
the way.
Oliver, we'll talk offline, sir. I think we're back on that road. Additional questions and comments? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 25-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 279, refer to Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal 279, 2017 approves a transfer of $76,000 in the 2017 budget of the Marion County Coroner's County General Fund to support the cost of death investigation supplies and costs related to performing autopsies, which include pathology services, toxicology testing, and histological studies. Alfred Ballou, Deputy Coroner of the Marion County Coroner's Office, stated that the requesting funding will be transferred between characters within their budget. She stated that they are seeing a shortfall due to the opioid crisis, which has caused an increase in toxicology costs. She also stated that they will likely return to the council to request additional appropriations to support the remaining operations and functions of the coroner's office. Councilor Simpson moved, seconded by Councilor Mascari, to send Proposal 279 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. The motion carried by a vote of 10-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, proceed to the board for our vote. You hit clear? Hit clear? Yeah. Thank you. The proposal carries 25-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 281, referred to Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal 281, 2017, approves a transfer of $160,000 in the 2017 budget of the Marion County Forensic Services Agency and the County General Fund to provide training for new and existing staff, allowing forensic casework to start 6 months earlier. Mike Metler, the director of the Indianapolis Marion County Forensic Services Agency, stated that the request is a transfer within their budget to train 9 employees in the DNA testing. He stated that by Indiana statute, by January 1, 2018, all arrested felons will be given a swab test to go to the DNA database. He said that the transfer will take funds out of Character 1 and 4 and will supplement the budget in Characters 2 and 3. Councilor Simpson moved, seconded by Councilor Oliver, to send Proposal 281 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. The motion carried by a vote of 10-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our votes. The proposal carries 25-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 283, refer to Public Works Committee. Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal 283 approves transferring a total of $1,073,000 in the 2017 budget of the Department of Public Works, Consolidated County General, Parks General, and Solid Waste Collection General Funds to address the increased repair and maintenance costs, offset increased mowing expenses, and replace capital equipment. Councilor Gray moves, seconded by Councilor Scales, to send Proposal 283 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. That motion carried by a vote of 9-0, and I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. Councilor Holliday? Thank you. The proposal carries 25-0. There is no business under Special Service District Council. The next item on our agenda is new business. We'll proceed to announcements and adjournment. The docket agenda of this meeting of the council having been completed, the chair will now entertain motions for adjournment.
Madam President.
The chair recognizes Councilor McQuillan.
Thank you, Madam President. I have been asked to offer the following motion for adjournment. By all councilors in memory of Alice Layton and Esther Mowry. By councilors Adamson and Lewis in memory of Bernetta Sloss Tanner. By councilors Miller and Mascari in memory of Lydia Brasher. By councilor Osley in memory of Rutha Powell. By councilor Lewis in memory of Ashley Jean Morrow, Joe Parker, Leon Morrison, Sheila Kathleen Brown Smith. By councilor Kreider in memory of Colonel Connie Boatwright Royster and William F. Toms. By Councilor Feaster in memory of Patrick D. Mescal. By Councilor McQuillan in memory of the Honorable Julian L. Ridlin and Judith Jane Judy Burnett. By Councilors McQuillan and Mowry in memory of Barbara Holland. By Councilor Wessler in memory of Dwayne Dewey Runas and Jesse Vandegrift. Madam President, I would like to move the adjournment of this meeting of the Indianapolis City County Council in recognition of and respect for the life and contributions of those persons I have here specifically named. I respectfully ask the support of fellow councilors. I further request that the motion be made a part of the permanent records of this body and that a letter bearing the council seal and the signature of the president be sent to the family of each person advising of this action.
Thank you, Councilor McQuilling. Hearing no objection, the motion is received and the requests are so ordered. Hearing no further motions, we are adjourned.